welcome back to Tuesday Shop Talk. This week we're going to talk a little bit about a couple things. People have asked, I've got some email questions about the drill press that I've been using and this bench behind me. And so we're going to talk about those. But first I want to talk a little bit, following up on last episode. We talked about live auctions, local auctions. Then there's online auctions. I have become addicted to them. I buy and sell tools, equipment from them. I look for stuff that is going for way under list price, and some of it I put up on one of the online auction sites and to move it along, and other stuff I sell to friends and other guys. So, and some of it I keep for myself, of course. I'm going to start off by saying online auctions are great because you can do your research on whatever it is that you're looking at, and you have plenty of time, usually 7 to 10 days in most cases, to decide how much you're willing to bid on something. Good way to do online auctions is to, most of them have a review bid function. So you go through and you put in a low bid on everything that you're interested in. And then if you can, when the auction starts closing, one of our local ones, they like to start closing their auctions at 7 p.m. And so I'll jump on the computer at 7 and start watching the auction. And as the items that I click into that review screen, and then as the items that I've been bidding on are coming up, with about 3 minutes left in the auction, I'll go ahead and put in a bid that I hope will win, and go from there. I'm not one of those guys that sits there and ups the bid by minimum bids. I'll just put in my max bid. I've usually got an Excel spreadsheet or a piece of paper with all the items listed on it, what my max bid is on it, and I'll put in my max bid, and if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. Just the other day, I put in my max bid on a billing machine, and it went past my max bid. I had time, I could have upped my bid, but I had already put my max bid in. I had figured in the cost of, they have to having a rigger load it, and the cost of me going to get it, it's about a 300 mile round trip. So I knew exactly where I had to be on it. It was something that was for the shop here. It wasn't something I was going to make money on. It was something that I was hopefully going to make money with eventually. But so I missed it. It's not the end of the world. There'll be another one some other time. That's how you have to think about all auctions, online, live. It's not the end of the world if you don't get something. So that's where we're at on online auctions. Just like live auctions, set your price. Don't go over it. Keep your eyes open. I mean, there's a lot of them out there. There's 3 small local online auctions in my area. Of course, there's the big auction site. I don't buy a lot on there. I reserve that for selling stuff. Most of the time, you're not getting the best deal on there, and unless it's something that I really need, a piece of tooling or something, I'll go there and look. But if it's not anywhere, it's got to be at least 50% off or list for me to buy a piece of tooling there, because as good as some of the sellers are in their descriptions and whatnot, still not 100% sure what you're getting unless you can put your hands on it. So that's what my online auction thought is. You can't handle the item unless you can go do a viewing and see it. A lot of times you can't. A lot of times I don't even bother. The truck that we're working on, I bought that in an online auction, but I saw it on the auction. It was one of the local ones close to me. I drove up to their lot where they had the truck. I talked to the auctioneer. I got the keys. I went out and started it and looked the whole thing over, made a list of everything that was wrong with it that I could find very quickly. I checked the oil, I checked the transmission fluid, and even though I couldn't take it out on the road and test drive it, I did drive it around their lot, checked the brakes, checked the four-wheel drive, and then checked all the lights, and so I knew what I was getting. That I was willing to, I set my price higher because I had actually looked at it. If I hadn't actually looked at something, I will set my price lower. because unless I can lay my hands on it, I don't know 100% the condition of it, and therefore I can't make a really good decision on what it's worth. So online auctions, I tend to bet a little bit less than I would in a live auction where I can actually lay my hands on the item being sold. So, got a few more things to talk about in this video, and we'll get going on those. And 3, 2, 1, do it, Jake. All right, we've had some email questions about this bench behind me. I'd love to say it was my idea, but it's not. I stole this from a guy named Steve O on thegaragejournal.com. You can go look up his design build on something very similar to this. These are Harbor Freight 44-inch 13-drawer toolboxes. They're cheap, okay? But they're solid. They're good for the money. And that's the trick. For the money, they are the best toolbox out there. You can't touch this kind of quality for this kind of money anywhere else. So we got a 1.5 inch steel frame. Took the casters off, built the frame to fit these perfectly. Gives you a nice solid bench, especially when they're loaded with tools. This is like the welding bench. You're not moving it when it's all loaded up. This doesn't have any wheels. I had considered doing the same wheel trick I did on the welding bench that we talked about last week, but just didn't think I needed it. This is if I need to move this, I can pull the drawers out. I can actually pull the toolboxes out too, and it's not too bad to move when it's like that. So 1.5 inch steel frame. I made the leveling feet out of 3/4 inch bolts and nuts. Once again, it's pretty close to perfectly level. This section of the garage floor is probably one of the worst ones here. When we were building the garage, when we were finishing the concrete, this is the last area we got to, and it's got some rough spots into it, and it's not 100% perfectly flat, but it's close. So the drawers that I had in the welding bench, they came from this stainless steel top that I picked up at a school auction. I had been looking for a stainless steel top for this build. I knew this was something that I was going to build, and I knew I wanted a stainless steel top on it. So I was able to pick this up at the school auction, and underneath here is 2 layers of 3/4 inch plywood, so it's very sturdy. You can still dent the top. I've got a couple of rubber mats on top of here to protect the stainless steel when I'm working on stuff here at the bench. But the mats come off and go in the sink, can be washed off really well. The top can be wiped down, and you can have a nice clean work area very easily. Got my 2 upper boxes on here. This one came from a live auction not too long ago. Before I built this, I was running out of tool storage and ran across this at a farm auction. A little bit of rust on it, but otherwise it's in perfect shape. And I got the bottom box to go with it. We'll be looking at that in a little bit when we look at the drill press, what I repurposed that as. And so this is all my hand tool storage, all my mechanics tools. Woodworking tools are on the other side of the shop. Give you a quick little view of what's in the drawers, and by far this is not where stuff's going to end up. We've only had this about as long as the welding table, about a month. So this was finished first, and the welding table came like a week afterwards. So haven't had it that long, haven't had a chance to completely organize things where I want them, but give a quick view. This is standard sockets. And the ratchets, extensions. Why don't you bring it over and shoot down into it, Colton?
Okay.
So that's one of the things I went for in this drawer, because I knew it was tall enough for the Hansen trays that will hold the sockets upright. Gives you a very easy selection of what socket you want to use. And down here I've got some pliers, still working. This is a work in progress. More pliers. Pliers seem to be taking up a lot of drawer space. I'm going to find a new solution for pliers. I've got a couple of ideas that I found on the internet, and that'll be a future video on what we're going to do with pliers. Not 100% sure yet exactly how it's going to work out, but we'll get to it. Down here I have my larger and spare wrenches in standard. Impact wrenches, cutoff wheel, die grinder, that kind of stuff in that one. bottom one, got my air hammers, air drill, air grinder, air rivet gun. Those bigger tools are in there. One of the other, these smaller side drawers over here have wrenches and some crescent wrenches and pliers, and the bottom ones have a few more air tools. There's more die grinders and air ratchets. And the bottom one has my Dremel tools and some soldering iron, solder, that kind of stuff is in there. We switch over to the other one. My limited selection of metric tools are in here. Metric impacts, couple Hansen trays. New purchase, and be doing a tour review on these once we actually get to use them. OTC torque set, external torques, standard torques, Torx Plus, and the tamper resistant torques. With all the fasteners on new vehicles, you need a set of these. I was surprised when I went to take the seats out of the 2001 is that I needed an external torque socket to do it. So that's why we have those in the box now. Got my really long extensions in here. These come in really handy for doing transmission work and some engine work and some other stuff. Got to have something that you can really reach with. And stacking together a bunch of short extensions and they wobble all over the place just isn't worth it. These are from Harbor Freight. They're cheap, but they work. This drawer has my puller in it, and I'll be adding, I got, in one of my other chests I still have my pickle forks, and that kind of stuff will all be in that drawer. Wire brushes, and some oil filter wrenches. Big half-inch drive, big crescent wrench. If you don't have an 18-inch crescent wrench, go find yourself one. They come in really, really handy. Bottom two drawers. This is body hammers and dead blows, and soft face mallets, and in here are all my hard striking ball peens and machinist hammers and that kind of stuff. So this one would be brake line kit and spare brake line tools, and all my extra sockets end up in here. So it's a nice bench, lots of tool storage, well organized, or it will be. So it's a work in progress. I'm still moving stuff around. Up here I've got standard wrenches, the gear wrench, reversible ratcheting wrenches, and the standard Craftsman raised panel wrenches. I don't do enough mechanics work to do high-end tool truck tools, so I'll just stick with the Craftsman for now. I bought this set, full Craftsman set, when I was 18 years old. Saved up for a couple years so I had the extra money to buy it. More wrenches. Bottom one here for right now is small pliers. Got some calipers in here, and wire strippers, that kind of stuff. This one is where I keep my measuring tools. Some of them are in here right now, some of them are out other places in the shop, but just good handy place to keep this stuff close to the workbench where I'm using it. Metric wrenches, screwdrivers, Torx drivers, more metric tools. I think this one's empty. Yeah, that one's still empty. That one's empty. That one's empty. That one's empty. And this one I've got my aluminum stuff. Two stainless steel wire brushes are in here, and a flap disc that's good for aluminum. It doesn't have any ferrous metals on it. Stored in here, and I've also got a torch tip for a propane torch. So down here on the end, I've got my Craftsman tap and die sets. Don't use those a whole lot anymore. Did a good deal at an auction not long ago and picked up a lot of tap and dies, and well, that'll be when we get to show what I've been collecting for machinist tools, we'll show that stuff. So, and you can kind of see here on the end, got a Sawzall sitting here because I use it all the time, and a couple boxes of files that came from another auction, online auction. Got a really good deal on them, way less than I think I paid about 25 cents a piece for them in the end. So, and most of them are in very good, like new condition, a little bit of wear, but you don't find files like this just anywhere. So. And those still have to be sorted out and put away, but haven't quite figured out where to put them yet. I gotta get some handles for them. I think I'm gonna make some kind of hanging rack for most of those, so they're handy. So, and over here in the corner, we got an old AV cart picked up at the school auction, where I picked up this countertop, and I've got my plasma cutter and my TIG welder on it. Made a cutout and did some welding back there. Got a 125 cubic foot argon bottle back there. That's still a work in progress too, so, but it seems to be working well so far. It's much better than the cart that I had before, and you can access the welders really easily on here. So that's where we're at for now. Got one other thing that we're going to show you this week, and we'll be right back with that. Hey, welcome back to the Wood and Metal Workshop, Tuesday Night Shop Talk. Another thing that we've had some emails on was the drill press that I've been using. Another auction score is an online auction. Clausing. I don't have a date on it, haven't looked it up. My main thing was to get it in the shop, set up and running. I've got an older Craftsman drill press that I bought, I think, late 80s, and has served me well, but it's just not stiff enough and doesn't do. I want something with a little more control that makes a little better hole, something I can run a reamer in, that does a little more closer to the milling side than drilling. So this was what I decided. This is what I found. It's got a 30-inch by 24-inch production table. Gonna have to drill some holes in it. Some more holes. There's a few holes, stuff that people have drilled in it over the years. This head's been moved around a couple of times. It's been over here. It's been over here in this location. It looks like, but for right now, it works really well right here. Got a cheap Chinese drill press vise, which I will be replacing. This one I've used to hold some welding, so there's some weld spatter on it and stuff. It works okay, but it's not the best thing to be using when I want precision, but it does hold stuff and keep my hands out of the way. So as far as the drill press goes, it's Vari-Speed, so I'm not going to crank it up right at the moment and change the speeds, but you move this knob when it's running, and it has an adjustable belt on it. It raises and lowers the speed. These switches don't do anything. Those are the original switches. It is a 3-phase motor. I don't have 3-phase in the shop, so I've had to install a VFD. This is nice because it allows me to control the hertz going into the motor. Here in the US, we standard 60 hertz, and so right now I've got it set in the middle, which would be about 30 hertz, so the motor's actually running half its rated capacity, pretty close to at least. It's got a good, like I said, good solid stand on it. Made some leveling feet for it to get it nice and level, and raise it up a little bit because I've got some obstruction here on the floor. When we built the shop, we were going to put a gym crane right here, and never got around to building it. May in the future this will move someplace else, but for now this is its location. Where the gym crane location was, I had 220 power run to it, so good place to plug this in and keep it on its own circuit. Works really well. You got a release handle up here, and instead of the table cranking up and down, the head cranks up and down, and it actually runs really smooth. Other than, I don't know if you can see right here, it's got a little bend in the screw shaft. The guy who was loading it for me hit that with his forklift when it was hanging below the table, and didn't bend it really bad, but did give it a little bit of a kick to it. So once you get to that part, it cranks a little hard, but once you get past it, it cranks really nice. So, and in the lower, I won't be using it that high very often, so down here where I normally use it, in this area it cranks real high. This allows you to swivel the head. And it's a little self-centering. Alright. There. Tighten this up. You ready to drill? Oops. I've got some steel leaning against the side down here from the bumper projects. Good place to store it where it's mostly out of the way. Got to make some new handles for it. I've only got the one, which makes it a little difficult to drill, but that's another project. You can drop the arbor down on this and then tighten this one. It locks it in place, so you can do some really light milling with this, nothing really serious. For that, you'd have to have a cross slide table. Don't have one of those, so it's not something I'm planning on doing anytime soon, but it does give you that option. So let's turn it on and show you how it works. Oh, on a VFD, a three-phase motor, you really don't want to run it under half power. Anything lower than that, your motor can overheat. So it's just a matter of hitting run. It comes on, starts spinning. Right now I have it at the lowest speed. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crank it up a little bit. And then come over here on the VFD. Go up to a full 60 hertz. And I usually keep it at 30% or 50%. And I usually have this down to the lowest range because I'm drilling steel. And stop button. These VFDs will do a lot for you. There's a lot of different options and menus that you can get into and do all kinds of nifty stuff. You can tell it how fast to ramp up, how fast to ramp down. And whatnot. You can hit reverse, and now the spindle's spinning backwards. Turn it back into forward. All right, I've got a couple of different chucks for it. Got a standard. This one goes up to 5/8. It's an MT2 Morse Taper 2 taper. So that one locks in. And then I've got Rome chuck, keyless. In some of the other videos I've shown this. In one of the videos I was having problems with the this is a number 2 Morse taper, and on this end it is a, I believe, 2MT to a 33 Jacobs taper. Well, the Jacobs taper was falling out. Took it apart, or cleaned everything up really well, got the oil and grease that was on it off, tapped it back in, and now it seems to be working pretty good. So this is the one I usually have in here. And then I had mentioned earlier about the other half of this Craftsman stack that I bought. Got fairly inexpensively. Took the wheels off and it fit right underneath the drill press perfectly. So gave me a good place to store a lot of stuff that's drill related. Top drawer, I have all the number 2 Morse taper bits that I bought at an auction. So those are handy. I do have to sort all these out, get them in order so I can just grab what I need. But for right now, they're just kind of stacked in here, and I've been putting the ones that I've been using frequently at the front, so I know right where they are. Below that, I have my cases of standard bits. So those are all neatly sorted and easy to grab. I've got some loose bits here, and then I've got some countersinks. So those are handy. In here, I've got my collection where I'm starting with my mills. Eventually I will have a mill in the shop, but got these as part of an auction lot, and these are the ones that I decided to keep. In here, miscellaneous drill bits, hole saws, a bunch of other stuff, some sanding drums, stuff that you might use on the drill press, but just a good place to keep them out of the way. And the bottom drawer is my collection of grinding discs, flap discs, and got some paint remover discs and stuff in here, and the handles for my 4.5 inch grinders. So that's what's in this bottom drawer. This is what's in this chest. You have this is a decent sized shop, but I've got a lot of equipment and a lot of tools and a lot of tooling. So always finding innovative ways to make use of the space. The space underneath the drill press would have just been dead space if I hadn't had a chest like this to slide under here and use it. And if you search around the internet, saw sites like GarageJournal.com, and there's a few other ones that there's a site that I can't remember the name of, but you can do a Google search, and it is all about storage solutions. How to make the most of your space, and I've stolen some ideas from there. So that's one of the important things about utilizing a shop space, is to have storage for everything that you need and everything that you collect. And as you might have seen in the background of some of the videos, I've got slight hoarder tendencies. Part of that is because we are almost an hour out of town, and if we need a part or a tool, we can't just run to the local big box and grab it. Everything takes a couple hours to go and get. So that's why we have a lot of extra stuff in here, is because I like to store the parts that I may need versus the parts that I do need, and just for those rare occasions. So up on the shelf back there, we'll probably take a look at that in another video, so I'll give you some of my storage ideas that I've gotten from other places, and some that I come up with my own. So remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.